President, I'd like to ask the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture what initiatives his department, together with others, will be taking to review support to schools in catchment areas where large numbers of children are entitled to free school meals.
On the Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Department applies the number of pupils receiving free school meals as a main social factor in allocating school budgets. Within the budget calculation, a weighting is applied to all schools when the number of free school meals supplied exceeds the average percentage. Also, within the calculation determining staff levels in primary schools, pupil ages are taken into consideration. This enables the Department to ensure that areas of deprivation and lower age range demographics receive greater funding.
Supplementary, Mr. Cretney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given that the level of free school meals entitlement is widely recognised as an indicator of poverty and deprivation by both authoritative research bodies like the Joseph Rowntree Foundation and the UK Government, does he agree with me that the figures show not only a surprisingly high level of uptake overall, but also in some cases levels comparable with such UK areas as Hartlepool, parts of Kingston upon Hull and Darlington, high areas of deprivation, to name but three, and that for one of the wealthiest islands per capita, they're nothing short of a national disgrace?
On the Minister to reply,
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the area that we're looking at in the schools is the funding that goes through to the schools. We're fully aware of the number of free school meals out there, and I think what we have to do is be aware that alongside free school meals, there is other benefits that go along with it, travel and other things. So we do need to work with our colleagues in social security on these matters.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Minister described a system which has a regular capitation for most students and then an additional capitation for those who are on free school meals. Can I ask the Minister how it's decided how much is available in each of those pots and how they split that out? So that how much money is available, if you like, to go into that extra funding pot as opposed to the general funding pot?
Reply, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, I don't have the breakdown of the figures. When I've spoken to the Finance Division on this, they do take individual cases. What they do is they look at the schools as close as they can to the start of term to try and determine the additional funding that goes in if there's more people with free school meals.
Supplementary, Mr. Cretney.
Yes, perhaps if I could help with some of the figures. Does the Minister not think that a 65% rise in spending on free school meals in the period 2012 to 2017 from £465,000 to £787,000, while school rolls were stable over the same period, shows a concerning increase in the level of poverty within the pupil population of Manx schools, and with all the potential impact that may have on educational attainment?
Mr. Cretney.
Thank you, Mr. President. And as I said earlier, it's an area that we really do need to work with our colleagues in social security on.
Supplementary, Mr. Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. Free school meals have to be applied for independently by the parents. Could the Department do anything to proactively encourage parents who potentially might benefit from this scheme become involved?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, I didn't catch what the Honourable Member said. Could you just repeat?
Yeah. Currently, if you're wanting to benefit from free school meals, you've got to apply through various government processes. Some parents decide that the administration is too onerous for them and don't apply for those benefits. Will the Education Department look at possibilities where parents could benefit from this and currently aren't benefiting from it?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an area that we can have a look at.
Honourable Member for Garth, Mr. Kane.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I ask the Minister, I would agree with the Honourable Member for Council, Mr. Cretney, that there does seem to be a correlation between the high volume of children on free school meals and academic attainment. And would the Minister agree that if that was in the England schools, there would be a pupil premium, I think of up to £1,200 per pupil, that would be received by the school with a large number of children on free school meals? And is that something that the Department of Education would be considering?
Reply, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm aware that one of our head teachers is currently looking at the pupil premium. It will mean possibly a huge increase in the department's budget, and it's something that we will have to talk to Treasury if we were to go down that line. But on the levels of attainment, it is questionable whether, as the Honourable Member said, because people are on free school meals, that the level of attainment is lower. I would dispute.
Member for Douglas East, Mr. Robert Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honourable Member for Garth actually asked the question that I was going to ask, but I'm a little bit shocked by the reply, in the sense that does he not accept that in what he just said, it indicates there's a huge deficiency here that we've got to deal with? Because if we are the only place that I know of that doesn't operate a pupil premium, and that to put it into place would cost very significant sums of money, there's a problem here that we've got to deal with. Does he not accept that?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is something that we need to address. One of the issues may be that we have to look at the current budgetary way that money is allocated, because there is a consideration taken into when free school meals are at schools about the amount of funding each school gets. We would have to have a thorough review of the funding of the schools if we were to introduce the pupil premium, but that is something that is currently being looked at.